Thanks so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video without interfering with the discussion I am going to have. If you ever need a website, online store, or even if you just need a domain, there's a link at the top of the description to get you a little discount. I've been wanting to make this video, or more importantly and more specifically have this discussion for a long time because it has been weighing heavily on me. You might be sensing a theme. I did another video recently where it was something that I've been wanting to talk about forever, like why I hate the zero waste movement low-key, and I'll link that up here. But I've honestly been thinking about making a video like this probably for about 6 months now, and it is that the internet has tried to put me in a box. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's a simplified version of it. When I say the internet, I mean the audience, like people who watch these videos, really like the people who don't watch all of my videos or really know what I'm about, but kind of see my videos that like hit the algorithm and get kind of big and then think that's all I care or talk about. And aside from just those types of people and comments on the channel, I'm also, when I say the internet, I mean the algorithms. Only certain topics and certain videos are sexy, and so they're the ones that most people see, and that's how people base their opinion of me, and so it makes it really hard for me to talk about things that are actually aligned with how I think and feel and believe and the way I go throughout sustainable living. On the one hand, that I probably agree with more, people say that content creators only show like the pretty side of their lives. They don't show when we're fucking up, they don't show the mistakes we make, they don't show, specifically in my case, us doing things and living in a way that's not always the most sustainable thing. But the point is, there's this part of the internet that says my content doesn't show the real sides of sustainability, the actual like system that's fucked up that we live in. I don't talk about deeper topics and all that sort of stuff. There's this part of the internet. And then there's this part of the internet who wants me to be perfect and hates when I show anything that's not. This is the part of the internet that criticizes me when I do things that aren't sustainable, which we're gonna get into specifics of in just a little bit. But anytime I do something that's not perfect, I get criticized, I get low-key hate, and I get just comments that make me not want to interact with my comments. If you're showing what you're eating a day, there better not be any packaging associated with it. It's that sort of mentality. And it goes on and on and on and on until you feel like you can't look at your comment section anymore because there's going to be unnecessary criticism, unhelpful criticism, and just little nitpicky fucking shit that makes you feel like nothing you do is okay or right or able to be put into a video. Seriously, imagine every time you try to be real and open and honest the way this side of the internet is trying to say that you should be. You get hate and criticism and just nitpicky bullshit that just makes you feel like, well, why am I posting at all? And I have a feeling that this part of the internet who makes you feel like it's not okay when you do show reality, or if you're talking about anything and criticizing it, you have to be perfect. I think this part of the internet is the whole reason we have this part of the internet. Why you see most content creators curate their lives to look so perfect, because if you don't, are you done? You'll get the nitpicky comments that tell you you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. Equally, I have this struggle in my head where I think individual actions matter. I think what we do matters. I think collective action matters. I think voting with your dollar makes a difference. I still wholeheartedly believe that, and I'm completely willing to do everything I can to impact the planet in a positive way, or at least to have the smallest impact that I personally can. I'm also on this side that thinks that individual actions don't matter nearly as much as large-scale, like, structural change. And that's why I really don't give a fuck when I do something that's not so eco-friendly, because I'm just doing the best I can with the system that I'm forced, that I am living under. And I've also thought, because of this situation, about changing my outro to the newest quote that I came up with, which is, do your best and advocate for the rest, which is really the same thing as you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. But it doesn't seem to be clicking with a lot of people who are commenting on my videos, because that quote is the basis of this channel. You can't do everything. Here's some things you can do. Here's some ideas to inspire you to do something that is better for the planet. That's the whole point, but it seems to just be missing. I don't know why. So I want to clarify my stance and like my purpose behind this channel and like my intentions, but I also want you to know that this is the type of stuff that has resulted in me avoiding things like my comment sections and interacting with you guys, my DMs, my secret newsletter, all of this like bullshit that just stands in the way of putting out authentic content has made me like literally afraid to interact with my audience. It's like a completely new habit I have. I used to check my YouTube comments religiously. I read almost every comment I ever got. And I realized like in November that I had completely changed that habit to almost never looking at my comment sections. And I've been on the internet for quite a while. I'm coming up on my 6-year anniversary of being on YouTube. So I'm no stranger to like a negative comment section or some comments that make me feel like shit about myself. I kind of have gotten used to the comments about my weight and the comments about whatever the fuck, all this stuff. I had the little bit of a mental breakdown last July. If you are on my secret newsletter, you would know the whole story. But the point is, ever since then, I can't bring myself to put myself in a comment section where there will be people on both sides nitpicking what I am presenting in fear of it sending me back into a spiral. Which, before you ask, yes, I am in therapy. I'm doing purposeful self-care days and trying to get myself back to a place where I can operate as an internet human, since it's kind of my career. But my point is, I can't do everything. I can't be everything. And I think it's okay to criticize a system that you're living under while you're living under it. I think it's okay to recognize that you can only do what you can with what you have, and that's always been my intention with this channel. And the nitpicking criticism of stuff that I can't do perfectly has got to fucking stop. Sometimes in my activism, I don't say the right thing, I don't do the right thing, I'm not representative of enough things that I think are important. I think there is absolutely valid criticism to give to me. But the nitpicking of shit that is so individual is, I'm not having it anymore. And if you followed me for a while, you probably noticed I will delete your comments on Instagram. I will delete your comments on YouTube because I'm not having it. I fucking can't. I'm done. I'm done with the bullshit, okay? Now, I realize all of that can feel a little heavy, so let's get into some things that I have been criticized for recently that I think are nitpicky and unnecessary and unhelpful, and let me just tell you why they're not sustainable, maybe why I do them, and just kind of break down my thought process around that in general. Hopefully we can all learn something. First up is ice. Quite a few of these criticisms came from my climatarian video, so if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It talks about how living a climatarian, or I guess eating a climatarian diet, is better for the planet, which foods are good and bad and all that sort of stuff. But one of the criticisms that came from that video is that I drink ice, that I use ice in my water. Now, I did some very basic research and found that yes, in terms of the energy that your freezer pulls, a significant amount of that, around 20% of the energy that your fridge pulls, comes from your ice machine. Now, is that me using electricity? The answer is yes. I use electricity because I live in the 21st century. Is ice a necessity? Probably not. Will I drink as much water if I try to drink all of my water without ice? Hell no, probably would drink nearly maybe a quarter of the water I drink a day. And honestly, even if my only reason for using ice is because I like it, I think that's perfectly fine, because the amount of things you can do in your life to live more sustainably is quite literally endless. And that's also one of the points I want to make is if we're criticizing people for using ice, where does that stop? Are you allowed to use a fridge because that consumes energy? Are you allowed to live in a home because that consumes energy? Do you have to go live out in the woods and cook all of your food by fire and forage for all of your food because that's the only way you're gonna have not even no, but the smallest environmental impact possible? So when you're criticizing something that someone who is already doing as much as they can is doing, what is your end goal here? Where does it stop? And in addition to that, if you're not using an ice maker, actually keeping ice in your freezer can lower your energy consumption, because when your fridge has more stuff in it, it's easier for it to hold its temperature. An empty freezer takes a lot more energy to keep at temperature than a full freezer. So also just other things to keep in mind. I got criticism recently on my That Girl video and also probably on my climatarian video. But if you haven't seen my video where I tried to take the That Girl trend and make it a little bit more sustainable, I'll link it up here. I was wearing my Apple Watch in that video, and also I had an iPhone in my hand because also, again, you know why? I live in the 21st century and I work online. But more so than that, I get all of my tech secondhand. Everything I use to run this channel was purchased secondhand, and I say that all the time. So it's a little bit unfortunate that I have to kind of repeat myself, but I'll do it all day. If people need to hear me say it over and over again, I will. But I definitely think like a bigger structural problem is planned obsolescence, things not lasting for like a long time, right? iPhones these days really on average only last 2 to 3 years. I think that's the main problem. I think also perceived obsolescence as well is often is like the new iPhones are coming out and everyone is like, there are like systems set up now for people to switch every time the newest phone comes out. I think those are the real problems. And obviously I don't do that. I don't upgrade my phone every time a new one comes out. I buy all of my tech secondhand so that I'm shopping things that otherwise would go to waste and also not creating a demand for more phones to be made. But I find it so funny to criticize anybody for just simply having an iPhone because I don't know truly how we would function in today's society if we didn't have smartphones. Whether you want to call that fortunate or unfortunate, that's the reality of today's world. We need smartphones, especially like for our work to exist. So I thought that criticism was pretty silly. Now, I've already hit on this a little bit, but I get criticized quite a bit for the fact that I drive. Again, in my That Girl video, someone was like,
I know you went to the library, but like taking public transit to the library would have been much more sustainable.
Which, I live in Texas, so on top of the fact that like most of the US is like so fucking big and sprawled, Texas is a whole nother level, y'all. I've seen a lot of this country. I've driven a lot of this country, and nothing compares to this fucking state. Everything is so spread out. We do not have public transit infrastructure to meet the demands of the people where they need to go with public transit. Owning your own vehicle is absolutely necessary to live in Texas. Unfortunately, this is just where I was born and raised, so it's what I gotta deal with. But I do work from home, so I don't drive very often, maybe like twice a week. Really only on the weekends if we're going to do things with friends is the only time I will actually drive. And even then, we carpool a lot. My point is that I live in Texas and a car is absolutely necessary, and to criticize someone who has to use a car to go to the library is just so unnecessary. Like, it's a pretty short drive, but let me tell you that I did look it up after this person criticized me, and it would have taken me five times as long to get to the library if I had taken the bus. It would have been a 30-minute walk and then 2 buses to get to the library. And that's just my reality. And I understand why people want to criticize people who have to use cars, but at the end of the day, it's absolutely not our fault. We don't have structures and systems in place to deal with that. So, in a similar vein, I've also received criticism in the past for flying, which is a little bit less necessary, I will say. Like, most of the time when I'm flying, it combines so many different things, right? Every time I've flown over the last 5 years has had something to do with work. So I went to the Northeast and I made that like a whole month trip. But within it, I did several different things for work. I met with several different people. I had a meetup. I went to a strike. I met with brands. I made vlogs. I made content for this channel. Like, people in corporate America fly all the time for work. And if I have to do it once or twice a year, I don't really think it's that bad, but I offset all my flights. When we do have to fly, I try to pack as much into each flight as I can. That way I'm making the most of those emissions, and I'm not like flying to Sacramento for work and then realizing, oh, I really want to go on a ski trip, and then flying back again like some other time to do the ski trip. Instead, I flew to Sacramento because I needed to do work. I shot multiple things that I had to do for work. I went on a mini ski trip because I've never skied before, and that was something I wanted to do in that area. I think that I utilize when I have to fly really, really well. And in comparison to a job I would have if I was a consultant, I definitely fly a lot less and drive a lot less because I work from home. I think it's a little silly to criticize people who fly every now and then. I get criticism because I use AC and my ceiling fans. And I already mentioned this a little bit, but I live in Texas, and unless you think I should just uproot my whole life simply to not run the AC, I'm not sure what you want me to do. And also, I've had people tell me, like, when my ceiling fans are on, they're like, why are your ceiling fans always on when it's not cold, when it's not hot outside? And number one, it's pretty much always hot outside. Like a few days of the year, maybe it's not. But 2, air circulation is really important for your health, but also the health of your home so that things don't get stagnant. It can lead to a lot of different problems in your home, like mold and mildew and all that sort of stuff. Air circulation is really important. And then I also have a lot of plants, and they need the air circulation. And I think a really important point to drive home here would be when you criticize people for just showing you their home, right? I'm making content and I'm vlogging, maybe say that, and you see my ceiling fan going in the background and your head is just like, oh, I need to criticize that because it's on. I think like that's something really specifically we need to talk about, because I wasn't even talking about that ceiling fan. I was just living my life and showing you something else to hopefully help you or inspire you or whatever I'm doing. And instead of focusing on what I'm saying, you chose something in the background to criticize. That A, leads to me feeling like I need to go around my house before I start filming and make sure there's nothing that someone could criticize, which leads to what we were talking about earlier, creators showing only the perfect versions of themselves. And B, it's just like this really, like, it seems to be insidious culture where someone can't just watch a video and like enjoy it or take it for what it is. It's almost like people need to nitpick or criticize something. I also got criticism because I was running water in my shower, which I've said many times on this channel. I keep a bucket in my shower. I do take not even that warm of showers, but the water when you turn it on upstairs in my bathroom is cold and it takes forever to get warm. So that's just one of the things I wrote down to bring up to you. And then I also get a lot of criticism about what I eat, not only because of its sustainability, but because of my size. I just get a lot of comments that are like, minimalist, huh? Not with your food. Or shouldn't people who are living zero waste eat less so that they're not consuming? Or like all these criticisms that are really like just very toxic. I get that a lot. I've talked about that many times. It's toxic as fuck and I don't want anything to do with it. It's why you won't see me talking about food too often, although it's very highly requested, and so every now and then I build up the courage to make a video around it. But yeah, I don't like talking about food because I get a lot of criticism around it and it's so frustrating. And I have a few other things on my list, but honestly, I think that's enough. I think I've driven the point home now, hopefully. I'm excited to see your comments on this because I think it's easy from that side of the camera, right? I've been on that side of the camera. I watched YouTube for years and years and years before I ever started making videos. And so I have a very like seriously not unique perspective, but I definitely know both sides of it now. And I think that hearing this coming from me, I'm interested to see what your reactions are. So I guess I'll talk to you in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this and hearing me out, even though this wasn't the most joyous video. And I just hope I kind of like drove home the points I made. I'll see you in the comment section, and I want to say another huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video without interfering with anything we had to talk about today. So let's talk about them. Like I said, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform, so you can look to them to build an online store, website, or even just if you need to purchase a domain. Squarespace makes setting up a website super easy because you don't need to learn coding. They already have some beautiful templates over there that you can customize to be exactly what you're looking for. Squarespace makes it easy to connect your social media and to also take advantage of their blogging tools. You can do email campaigns through Squarespace because it is an all-in-one platform, like I mentioned. With their 24-hour customer service and traffic insight tools, it makes it the easiest way to build a website on the internet today. So when you're ready to launch, head over to squarespace.com/Shelbizleee for 10% off of your first purchase.